Ladies, gentlemen, bodies of water, this is the Alchemy Lab. My name is Lee. I'm playing Cassius as the plot thickens.
I'm Carl, I'm Crackers, and it always does.
And I'm Matt. I am the DM and master of the thickening plot. I'm pouring flour into that plot and thickening it right up.
Are you flower bay? Is that what's happening here? Just sitting like that above the plot?
It's gonna be dough. It's gonna be dough soon. That plot be thick with two C's.
Plot be pie crust thick soon.
Yeah.
Some
Dummy
plot.
thick.
All right. Well,
Lap.
last time on Shattered Land, Streets of Mihre, Tea and Treachery, case number 7. Yeah, 7. You had a couple of things. You attended the autopsy of this poison victim to find no poison in his body, but poison in the tea. Very peculiar. There was a theory about the poison dissipating from the body. But you'll get some information, some more information about that now, because they will have done their squishy bits. You also talked to Laura Knightley, who, well, she's in deep, apparently, with a mafia family on the tier above.
Mafia family.
Carl, the mafia family that Gracchus Foebreaker used to work for. She also knew John a bit more than she let on.
Like a ring.
She knew him like that ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah. But she's adamant that she didn't poison the tea. It doesn't seem like... I mean, but based on what she's told you, it doesn't seem like she could have poisoned the tea. Well, she could have, but it doesn't seem like she has. And maybe no one else could have either. It's very peculiar. You have maybe a working theory on this. But we'll come back to you now. It's a little time has passed. You've been collating your notes.
So I think we speak to the doctors, we speak to Swift, and then we speak to Nyx. And then we go from there with new information, hopefully.
Well, we certainly need more information to proceed, so let's see what we can find out.
Your first stop was the doctors.
Right.
The squishy bits appear to have been completed. There is a big old stitch, Y-shaped stitch on John's chest. The two doctors look up. Gentlemen. Findings. Much findings.
And these are?
As we suspected, damage to the esophagus. He definitely ingested the poison. There were traces there in minuscule droplets of tea left. And in the stomach, there were traces. In the bloodstream, though, they had still no traces in the bloodstream, but definitely in his stomach. So he ingested something in that tea.
Dr. Starr, you were saying this could potentially be activated.
It was a theory, but you get this with some of the pricier poisons. That's you want to kill someone, you don't want to leave a trace. You can dose them with the poison, and it is activated in many different ways. It can be activated by a spell, it could be activated by something simple, like heat, which is my theory, at least, as to what happened here.
And I think it's a good working theory at the moment, Doctor.
So,
from what we've taken from Melora, We're operating under the assumption that she has nothing to do with this at the moment. But he has ingested poison. He has gone to the tea house. He has drunk the tea, which has activated the poison and killed him.
Well, the poison is definitely present in the tea. And it is what traces of it we have, it is certainly a very powerful poison. There's no indicator of any other chemical in his body. This poison is the only foreign element.
The poison was certainly in the tea and not in his saliva or...
Traces, well, as we said, traces in the saliva, traces in the esophagus, and some traces in the stomach. It's just in the bloodstream. There is no trace.
And that would happen why?
Well, for any number of reasons. Perhaps droplets would perhaps have caught on the esophagus and not been completely swallowed and maybe diluted in the saliva. Saliva cools quicker than blood does.
So it's entirely possible that whatever poison trace was in the blood is gone due to the heat.
Due to internal body heat, indeed. That's what we suspect.
Is it possible that the poison we detected in the cup was spit back up by the victim?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. The traces were around his face and closer down to the bottom of the esophagus. There is another, well, rather interesting thing. Well, look at him.
Forgive us, we're not trained in the same way that you are, Doctor. What are we looking for?
Well, I mean, you don't have to be necessarily trained. Just look at him, at his physique. A perception check, gentlemen.
Physique looking.
Perceive
I
that.
got
21.
I got a crit.
He now knows how he died.
Well, looking at this guy, he is svelte. He is very well he's very, very like athletically built. He's very fit. There's no signs of ill health, at least looking at him, apart from the fact that he's dead. There's no kind of signs of ill health. He was in good nick, and then...
Well, he was very healthy. Very
incredibly. Excellent diet, based on his stomach lining. No ill health whatsoever. This man should not be dead. Except, well, obviously he was poisoned, but apart from that, he should be... I would not be surprised if he leapt off the table.
So here we are back at the same point again.
Yes.
The man who should not yet be dead, somehow killed almost instantly by a poison that, while in his blood, detectable in the cup he drank from, and his body not detectable in his blood.
It was a very, very... It would have been a very good poison in that case. An expensive poison.
And how the hell would someone like Melora have ever had access to it? Be well above the pay of anyone in tier 6. Hell, anyone in tier 5 probably.
Thinking back, Gracchus, the Delano family aren't this surgical. And this is above their pay grade.
I don't think this is related to the Delanos. They're not this meticulous, nor this precise. And I highly doubt they could afford a poison this high class.
Well, this sets us back a bit.
We need to talk to Swift.
I believe we do, yes. Thank you, doctors.
No, not at all. Not at all. If we find any more, we'll leave a message with Mr. Swift, or we'll try and send a runner to you or something.
A runner would be advisable. The Devilish Archive is where we were staying. Ask for Rembrandt.
We will indeed. We will indeed. Good luck,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. You head on up.
Off to Swift in mild confusion.
Off to Swift in mild confusion.
More than mild at this point. Everything we find out about this dude makes less sense. Even the way he dies is making less goddamn sense.
Swift is at his desk. He looks up at the pair of you. Well, I hope your questioning has been productive, gentlemen.
It's only provided more questions, unfortunately, Inspector Swift.
Oh. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, let's collate what we know about this man. About this Balthazar Jond.
He is a thief, as far as we can tell. He has passage to and from Tier 3. He was staying at the Night Heart, the brothel.
It also appears he was staying with Melora on a few occasions as well.
Indeed.
He was poisoned by a very expensive, very exclusive poison.
How expensive?
More expensive than a tea owner could afford.
More expensive than anyone that is around here could afford.
Even a tea owner connected to
The crime family she potentially was connected to would not have the resources to obtain this.
They're more overt in their
Experience. My prior life has given me some experience with the family in question, Mr. Swift.
most
They are not this
peculiar.
meticulous or this careful.
Most peculiar. In that case, you have successfully exonerated Miss Knightley. If she could not have afforded the poison which killed Mr. Jond. Did she administer it? That's the question, isn't it? Who administered the poison?
and how without any of us seeing.
Indeed. Indeed.
We had a working theory that he may have had the poison before he got there and the heat of the tea would have activated it, but the coroners do not believe this is the case.
He gets up and starts pacing. There were only 4 people in that tea house when he died, that we know of.
Correct.
Correct.
At the very least, there were only 4 people in the room that we know of. You 2, Melora Knightley, and Balthazar Jond, who is now dead.
Correct.
Now, the pair of you didn't poison him.
We have no motive, we have no means.
And that was the first day we'd ever met John.
Indeed. And, like you say, an expensive poison.
Well,
More expensive than our work can afford, yes.
Melora Knightley couldn't have afforded it. She could have done it, but again, as you said, motive. Jealousy, perhaps, if he's staying in a whorehouse, but why that poison and why expensive? She could have just strangled the man if she had access to him. That only leaves
The only person in that tea house with the means potentially to afford such a thing would have been John himself. He was carrying a lot of platinum, and we found more elsewhere in our searches.
Yes, Dr. Julius and Dr. Stahl told me that there was more platinum in his coat.
He was clearly a man of means. He had passage to Tier 3, which is...
A man of great patronage, Gracchus.
Either or, my point is the same. The only person in that room that we know of who could have afforded a poison like this is probably the man who's dead. He'd certainly have the ties to the right location to obtain it. Tier 3 would probably be more than enough to afford something like this. What if it wasn't meant to kill him? What if it was an accident? The military police are down here searching for something. We don't know what. The only reason they come down this far regularly is because of a threat of some sort. We have a mysterious man who turned up in the tier 2 weeks ago, giving only his surname, a name that might not even be his true name, as no record of a jaunt can be found travelling into tier 6 to begin with. Yet we have documentation that proves he had a permit from travel from tier 3 to tier 6. Why have a travel permit that apparently you never use?
A man in deep trouble, well connected, with military police of a higher tier, definitely rich enough to afford the poison that killed him. But why poison himself? An accident? Either way.
If he's a man who has a great patron, perhaps that patron wanted him to do more than just steal. Everything we have suggests that he was a thief of some description.
I've been putting... No, sorry, continue.
Perhaps they wanted more. What if they had a situation that they wanted a surreptitious death to take place?
With witnesses.
Inspired for that purpose.
With witnesses. And a scapegoat, perhaps.
What better way to conceal the crime than make it impossible for anyone but 3 people to be involved?
You said something about feelers, Inspector Swift.
Indeed. I have contacts a little further up. Up to tier 4, this man, Balthazar Jond, does not exist. At all. Nothing. Perhaps higher. Or not from Mihre.
External force.
The name is fairly nondescript. I mean, you'll see Balthazars here. You'll see them in, you'll see them in a few different islands. Usually big cities, though. I think, gentlemen, the question is, what the hell was he doing down here?
That is a question.
That's something to do with construction work.
I see.
Also seems to be something the military police are down here asking about. New places of interest came up as we walked in.
We have an office here that has a few construction permits, well, has all of the construction permits, all of the licenses.
Oh, do you?
Indeed. Indeed. You've seen it.
I happened to notice as we walked past.
Well, did you notice anything in particular?
We hadn't had the chance to investigate it. We came to see you first.
Make a deception check.
Technically, I'm not lying. We...
Make it with advantage then. Make it with advantage then, because you're sort of assisting each other.
Natural 20.
That'll do.
Oh, all right, fine. All right, fine.
Technically, I did not lie.
You know,
Not going.
you know. It's probably all of this talk is getting me too suspicious of everything.
It's fine.
You have, the office is at your disposal, of course.
Perhaps at the next we should check then. And if possible, we'd like access to Melora's house. John seems a fan of dropping things off wherever he stayed.
Indeed.
It's not unreasonable to assume he may have hidden something there without Melora knowing.
Well, our people have been there. They haven't found anything yet.
He's been, to our experience, he's been pretty good at hiding things.
Very good. Exceptional, in fact.
And he's a master thief. Forgive me for saying, but guards are not going to be able to find something he didn't want you to find.
You have a point. And also that Miss Knightley wouldn't find. I'll ask them, I'll send a runner and tell them to be a lot more scrutinous with their search. I'm reluctant to violently turn over a woman's house if she's not, at least not guilty of a murder. If you would like to lend a hand, it is up to you.
Perhaps Cassius, once we've looked at the records, I might go to assist.
If you feel you have the eyes for it.
If you're willing to come, I'm not going to say no.
I think I've got a bit of background in finding this man's things, so yes, I'll come along.
We'll check the records first. The construction seems important somehow. Maybe we'll find something wrong, maybe we won't, but the construction is definitely a need we need to pursue.
Indeed. Well, let's see what we can find, gentlemen.
Cassius, you head on first. I'll be with you in a moment. I need to discuss something with Mr. Swift privately.
Of course. Inspector Swift, thank you.
Mr. Valentine.
And off I go.
Mr. Fowbreaker.
Inspector, forgive my crass nature previously. As I said, my previous life was not a good one, and I have had many run-ins with unfavorable members of the law. I'd like to offer you some information that might help you.
Indeed.
The Delano crime family?
Yes.
Melora was working with for them.
Oh, was she now?
We will cooperate fully.
That's sizable. Thank you for that, Mr. Fowbreaker.
She will need protection.
She'll have it.
I've given her where we are staying as well. I'll offer the same kindness to you. Devilish Archive.
I've heard of it. I've heard they do very good whiskey.
I can absolutely recommend the rye. The bartender is a friend. We also co-own the location with him. We operate out of there. I will be honest with you. I have a personal interest in Delano crime family. I'm looking for a friend.
Indeed.
A dwarf by the name of Brock Ironhide. He's on the run from them. I want to find him before they do.
I'll keep an eye out.
I appreciate that. Beware, Mr. Swift. Fighting them could lead to a war in Tier 6. They will not go quietly.
And I will look you very, very carefully.
Should blood need be shed, I happily offer my services for that. I have a debt that needs to be reclaimed.
And a very, very large sword. And a large rifle.
As I told Mr. John before he died, past experience has taught me it's never too bad to be the heaviest armed man in the room.
Indeed. Indeed. I will offer an apology to you as well. In fact, Mr. Fowbreaker, for my own crassness and my own dismissiveness. I know people don't exactly trust law enforcement. A lot of them have good reason to. There's no good in giving them a reason to. A reason not to. A reason not to trust them. It's been a long day. Good hunting, Mr. Fowbreaker.
To you, Inspector. I'd head out there and head over to Cass.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cass, you have Nyx on your shoulder.
Hmm. What did you find?
There is a lot of construction. Rather a lot. But as far as I can tell, based on the building inventories and what they requested, there are only 3 that use the red clay that you described in the footprint.
Fantastic work, Nyx.
Indeed. Oh, thank you, Mr. Valentine. Thank you. Also, interestingly, 2 of them are not too far from Novelty.
Okay. The 3rd is too far?
Well, all 3 are in the district. The first is 3 streets back from here towards the Novelty. So, a moderate distance. The second is 4 streets back away on the other side of Novelty toward the Night Heart. The third is bordering the docks, the Tier 6 docks.
Okay, then. Well, fantastic work, Nyx. I think we have our next place. Ah, Gracchus. I think we have, we have 3 leads. And I think this one here is the most promising. And I point to the one that's between Novelty and the Night Heart. One of 3 that Nyx has found using red clay, 2 of which are by the Novelty. This one, close to the Night Heart also.
Would make sense. Close to where he's officially staying in his lodgings.
It's the warmest lead, I think.
I would agree. We'll head there first. Melora's house can wait since we have something that might be a bit warmer.
What time is it?
It is edging towards night. Night is beginning to fall.
Or would you prefer then we go to Melora's first and wait for a little less ambience before we make a decision to go to the construction yard?
I think under the cover of darkness is best.
Understood.
All right. You, in that case, you depart the barracks. Melora's house is, I think Nyx has kind of buzzed around and gotten an address from that same room for Melora's house. Any discussion on the way?
It's all just musings from me trying to put this together. Trying to get in my investigative zone.
I'm keeping to myself at the moment.
You reach her house. There are a couple of guards outside. They sort of narrow their eyes at you. But
I produced a card, yes.
The card, they stand aside. They let you in. It's not a massive house, but it's it's nice inside. It's quite cozy. It's 4 rooms. There's a kitchenette. a living room come dining room. There's a bedroom and a privy.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Well, he was quite good at hiding things in bedrooms. I remember our first case together, actually. We must not neglect the privy.
Very good point.
We'll start in each room and see what we can find.
I'll take the privy, I suppose.
Be so kind.
Where are you starting, Cassius?
I'll go to the bedroom.
Both of you roll me investigation checks.
You're not very good. That's a 10 from me.
That would be a base 10 for me, 21.
All right. You see that. So we'll go Cassius first. Cassius, you see the bed's made. It's kind of like it's sort of a. It's not a four-poster. It's just a sort of standard bed, like four-poster, but without the stuff on top.
It's without the bits.
Without the bits. You check the legs of the bed, solid. The drawers, all solid. There's no compartments. You're very, very thorough. None of the floorboards seem loose. The cupboard, where she has sort of various gowns and things. Nothing to speak of in there. The bedroom is clean. Gracchus, in the privy, you sort of have a gander around. There's a bathtub, which obviously it doesn't have a drain. It does have a drain. Let's say it has a drain. It's like a kind of connected to a pipe that leads down into the sewage.
Off and out.
Yeah, off and out. The privy itself, kind of a similar arrangement. There is sort of a rudimentary flush. Nothing looks particularly out of place. You kind of sort of nudge the privy a bit. It seems fixed to the floor. Nothing particularly suspicious about the tub either. Like the tub itself. The mechanism for doing the flush for the like the connection of the pipe, it seems fine. Nothing loose. Nothing particularly loose. There is a drip of water from the kind of the bathtub area, like from the connection there to the wall, but apart from that.
I want to take a closer look at that connection.
Okay. We'll say investigation again. Make a plumbing check.
What's plumbing? I mean, I don't get bonuses because plumbing. It's a 9.
I mean, as far as you can tell, you don't really know much about it. It's sort of. It just seems like there's a bit of dripping water.
Okay.
Like you're not.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I will leave the privy. Any joy, Cass?
The bedroom is definitely clean.
I'm going to be honest. You might want to check the privy. I'm not as good at this as you.
Okay.
I'll make a preliminary sweep of downstairs. I'll start in the kitchen, I suppose.
Okay. Investigation checks again from both of you. If you're looking in the.
I got exactly the same, 21.
I got better this time. I got 15. Okay. Gracchus, we'll do you first this time. Living room area, come dining room area. It's pretty clean. Like she seems to maintain the place well. Nice furnishings, probably from drug money. Again, not really. I mean, loose floorboards here and there, but when you pry them aside, there's nothing beneath. It's just a loose floorboard. You move the chairs aside, nothing underneath them. In the kitchen, pantry's clean, table's clean. Doesn't seem to be anything downstairs. Cassius, in the privy, you see what Gracchus saw, and you note the dripping. It seems that some of the kind of bolts that connect the inflow, connect like the outflow to the pipe that goes down, seems they've been loosened.
Okay. Let us unloosen it. I'll get one of my daggers.
Oh, so loosen. Okay.
I'll take this baby off.
Okay. You take it off. So what she's done, she's sort of... I didn't mention this before, Carl. I should have. I forgot. She's laid sort of she's noted the leak, and she's sort of laid like a kind of a bucket underneath. Sort of a wide-ish kind of flat bucket. That's filled with water. And it's pretty large. So presumably when water goes through this, quite a bit of it comes out of the pipe there. Taking the pipe off, Cassius, you see that up top, like at the top of the pipe, pressed against the top of the pipe, is a sort of paper. Well, it's like basically like a bit of card, like thin, well, thick paper, we'll say, embossed.
Okay. What does it say? Does it say anything, or is it just ruined?
It does say something. It is it's not in. So it's not in a language that you speak. It's in a human language.
I can read it though. Remember?
Oh yes, you can.
I can read it.
I was going to say you recognise it though. You recognise the language.
Oh, it's not bloody infernal, is it?
No, it's not infernal.
Inside the pipe, you find some obsidian.
Oh God! It's a dialect. It's in sort of a dialectic of like a sort of regional language that has sort of developed over the years. It is regional to Ulverland.
Okay.
Which is probably the other large-ish city, not as large as Mihre, but it has been expanding a fair bit. Make a history check.
I swear to God, Matt. Hang on.
It's not a high DC, this one.
12.
Okay. So, from the time you arrived in Mihre up until now, there's always been a bit of tension with Ulverland. Always been a bit of tension. That tension, you've been a little bit out of the loop in terms of like that kind of into island news. But it seems like you've heard like a few people in the pub, like in the taverns, going, "Oh, have you heard about Ulverlands? They've expanded again. They've gone to another island, and You know,
Right.
they've gotten their fingers in there, like they get their fingers in everywhere. You know,
Right.
that kind of thing. And it worries people. Like Ulverland worries people
Right.
in Mihre. Mostly the people who. It's a different worry up top than it is in like tier 7 and tier 6.
Mhm.
The worry in tier 7 and tier 6 is we're going to get conscripted into something if this shit carries on.
Mhm.
This is in that language, the language of Ulverland,
Mhm.
and it is the equivalent of a passport.
Huh.
The name on it is Balthazar Jond.
Uh-huh.
And ladies and gentlemen, bodies of water, we will leave it there.
Goodness me.
It's not quite dough yet, but it's real thick.
He's needing it. He's needing it to prep it.
I'm needing the plot.
So, is it Ulverland?
With a U, Ulverland.
Ulverland. An Ulverlandian.
Indeed. We'll
Exclamation.
say in. Yeah. Indeed.
Brilliant. Well, there we are. The dough thickens as Matt continues to put flour and other things into the mix of this story.
Let's put more dough in the dough and see what I just put. Just dough.
Probably makes it thicker, but
Hey.
definitely makes it bigger.
Yo, dog, I heard you like dough, so we put some extra dough on your dough.
Until next time, do all the YouTube things, have a good time, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later, guys. I'll stop it properly this time.